Do you have to stay on weight loss drugs forever? That's a question I asked my doctor recently. Hi, I'm Sandy from Senior Slim Down with Sandy. When I asked my doctor if I would have to stay on GLP-1 drugs for the rest of my life, she said yes, and she gave me an article from the New England Journal of Medicine. The name of the article was The Long-Term Persistence of Hormonal Adaptations to Weight Loss. It was 8 pages of tiny print and graphs and footnotes that were as hard to understand as the title. But I did some research to try to break it down in a way that I could understand it, and I think other people might be interested too. The clinical trial that this article talks about is considered landmark research. First of all, what exactly is hormonal adaptations to long-term weight loss? It means that after you lose weight, the hormones in your body do everything that they can to make sure that you gain that weight back. And your body trying to gain the weight back doesn't just happen after you lose it. It goes on for at least a year, which is the time frame of the study that's cited in this article. This study took place in Australia between 2007 and 2010, and it tracked 34 adults over the course of a year. The first thing the study did was put all of the subjects on a radical weight loss plan of 500 calories a day. And of course, all of the subjects achieved a rapid weight loss. Then the study followed these subjects for another 52 weeks to see if they were able to maintain that weight loss. I have several illustrations of the results of this study included in this video. What they found in this 62-week study is that when we lose a lot of weight, our brain interprets that weight loss and the drop in fat and calories as a threat to survival. Our brain thinks something in our environment is trying to kill us, like there is a famine or there's some reason we're being deprived of food. If there wasn't some threat to our survival, why else would we have this dramatic drop in our food intake? So our bodies go on alert mode and try to help us get back to our previous weight. That's when our endocrine system alters the chemical signals that control our appetite and our fat storage. The endocrine system are the glands and organs that release hormones into our bodies. That would be things like the hypothalamus in the brain, our pituitary gland, our thyroid, our adrenal glands, our pancreas, and our sex organs. After we lose weight, the endocrine system sends out hormones that cause us to feel hungrier and have a stronger urge to eat than we did before we lost the weight. Besides feeling hungrier, our brain through the endocrine system also adapts our metabolism so that we burn less calories, which also results in gaining the weight back. It's not your imagination if it seems like you are eating less but still gaining weight. It doesn't matter if we have reached our goal of a healthy weight. Our brain doesn't see it that way. Our brain does not understand the concept of what is a healthy weight. Think of it this way. Our brain and our endocrine system act like a very bossy manager at work. And the bossy manager's job is to make sure that we never run out of energy. Because in all fairness, for most of human history, losing a lot of weight could mean that food was scarce. So when weight begins disappearing quickly, the manager sends the body an alert. Emergency! We are shrinking! Find more food and stop wasting energy. Because besides trying to get us to eat more, the body will try to use fewer calories, like a house turning down the heat to save electricity. We can see how this would be useful if we were living in a situation where there wasn't much food around, but that isn't the situation for most people who are trying deliberately to lose weight. There's plenty of food and plenty of food choices all around us. The part of our brain involved in these survival responses isn't performing a complex analysis of our environment and our overall health. This is our primitive lizard brain interpreting everything in terms of lots of food good and less food as bad. So when we lose weight and we start to gain it back, it's not necessarily because of a lack of willpower. It's biology. It's our brains and it's our hormones. Regaining weight can be a physiological response. It's not simply a matter of voluntarily going back to poor eating habits. The study showed that hormonal changes encouraging weight regain continued throughout the 1 year follow-up period. The study participants also reported that hunger was still significantly higher after a year. These changes may continue longer than 1 year, but this study did not follow the participants beyond that point. This is what the title of the paper in the New England Journal of Medicine means. The long-term persistence of hormonal adaptations to weight loss means that hormonal changes persist in a direction that encourages our body to regain weight after we have lost it. So what does this study have to do with GLP-1s like Zepbound? Well, the study was published in 2011, so it didn't involve any semaglutides like Zepbound or other GLP-1 medications. But GLP-1 medications reduce food noise and help us feel more satisfied with less food. If we stop GLP-1 medications after we've lost weight, then we also lose the appetite suppressing effects of GLP-1 medications at the same time that our biology is wanting us to regain the weight. Now, that of course doesn't mean that people are always going to regain all the weight that they've lost using GLP-1s like Zepbound. But it does mean that there's a very good chance that it's going to be a lot harder to keep the weight off if we don't continue the GLP-1 medications. And there have been more recent studies that showed that people who stopped GLP-1s after their weight loss tended to gain the weight back, while people who continued on maintenance doses had a much easier time of maintaining their weight loss. This study in the New England Journal of Medicine helps explain why my doctor and many other doctors think that you need to continue on GLP-1s after you've lost weight so that you can maintain your weight loss and not gain the weight back. It doesn't prove that every person who loses weight with GLP-1s needs to stay on GLP-1s. But it certainly indicates that many people will need to stay on GLP-1s if they want to maintain their weight loss. And there isn't any reason to feel pressured that you should stop taking GLP-1s just because you've lost weight. I mean, is there really any difference between taking a GLP-1 for the rest of your life or taking blood pressure medicines or lots of other medicines that people take on a lifelong basis? Of course, you're always going to want to do what your own doctor says, but GLP-1 drugs like Zepbound are not only approved for losing weight, they're also approved for maintaining weight loss. This is why many doctors approach GLP-1s like Zepbound as a treatment for a chronic condition rather than a temporary weight loss drug. The 34 people who completed this study in Australia lost an average of about 30 pounds, or about 14% of their starting weight. During the following year, they regained an average of about 12 pounds, but they were still about 17 pounds below their starting weight at the end of the study. So their weight dropped sharply during the diet and then slowly began climbing up during the following year. The participants also reported that their thoughts and preoccupation with food were significantly higher at the 1 year measurement. That sounds very much like what many of us today call food noise, although the researchers did not use that particular term. This is why maintaining our weight loss can feel like a tug of war with ourselves. I think the takeaway here is that when people regain weight after significant weight loss, that does not necessarily mean that they're weak, lazy, or lacking willpower. Our bodies naturally fight against weight loss. For many people, maintaining weight loss requires long-term strategies and long-term support. In other words, if you're using GLP-1s like Zepbound to lose weight after your weight loss, you may still need Zepbound or other GLP-1s to help maintain that weight loss. This study doesn't mean that every person who loses weight on GLP-1s has to keep taking the medication for the rest of their life, but it does show why many people will need to continue on a maintenance dosage of GLP-1s after losing weight. Stopping obesity treatment can make maintaining weight loss very difficult, and this is the reason why many doctors, including mine, considered GLP-1s to be something needed for long-term treatment. I hope you found this explanation of the New England Journal of Medicine article, The Long-Term Persistence of Hormonal Adaptations to Weight Loss, helpful. I'll put a link to the original article in the description of this video. You can subscribe to my channel and follow along with my own weight loss journey using Zepbound through the Medicare Bridge program. Hope to see you later.